Hey beautiful, I'm Holly Doherty, Sculptor of Self-Worth at rediscoverradiance.com. I help you to build a solid foundation of confidence and self-worth by being the woman that you were created to be, so you have more success and fulfillment in your life and business. In this installment of the Self-Care Experts series, we're talking about forgiveness. Now, before we get started, I want to remind you that, of course, there's a handout. So go ahead over to the file section of this group and download your handout so you can follow along with the video. And if you want to be a part of a like-minded community of connected entrepreneurs for ongoing business training, support, and encouragement like this and more, then go ahead and join NACME. I'll put that link in the comments for you. My work involves helping women to find themselves, love themselves, and be themselves, through and through, without apology. And for most women, that journey involves dealing with some ghosts of their past. Some things lingering in the back of their minds that sabotage the way that they see themselves. Cultural programming, family expectations. Quite often, it's things that people have said and done that have really hurt them. And for almost all of my clients, that work involves forgiveness. So take my client Debbie, for example. I'm not going to go into all the gory details of her story, but just suffice it to say that her dad did things to her that no father should ever do to their daughter. And her mom walked in on them one day, saw them, closed the door, and never mentioned it again. And to this day, they both deny that anything was wrong. Needless to say, Debbie had some serious forgiveness issues to deal with when she first came to me. And she said, one of the first things she said was, I'm never going to forgive them. They don't deserve it. What they did was unforgivable. And it was unforgivable as she understood forgiveness. See, she thought that to forgive them meant that she had to do all the work to repair the relationship. She had to pretend like everything was perfect and be buddy-buddy and spend all this time with them. But the problem was that spending time with them was toxic. It continued to open those wounds and not allow her to heal. And so the only way that she could not be hurt anymore was to seal them off with this wall of anger and lack of forgiveness so that she could stay away. Only staying away from them didn't ease her anger. It didn't ease the hurt that she felt. It didn't make things better for her. And holding on to that anger, it did things to her body. Her lack of forgiveness didn't ease the anger she felt. It simply justified it. And that anger ate away at her. Every time she thought about the situation, every time she was around her parents, her blood pressure would rise, her heart rate would increase. She got stomach problems. She eventually developed an ulcer over all of this. She learned early on that voicing her anger to her parents only brought denial from them and shame and blame on herself. So she internalized all of that. She still felt every bit of that anger, except instead of directing it at them, she directed it at herself. She took it out on herself, and her physical body paid the price for it. And as we worked through these issues, I helped Debbie to see that her anger and bitterness were really only hurting herself. And I taught her ways to forgive in a healthy way. What her parents did was inexcusable. Absolutely 100%. But it wasn't unforgivable. And that's where this misunderstanding of forgiveness comes from. She said, how can I ever forgive them? I'm still really hurt by what they did. They will never admit that they did anything wrong. How can I forgive them? And this is what I told her. I said, forgiveness isn't for them. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is for you. It doesn't mean that you excuse the other person's actions. It doesn't mean that you deny the harmful effects of what they did or that it doesn't hurt you anymore. It doesn't mean that you have to be best friends. That's where boundaries come in. And that was a topic of a whole another previous installment of the Self-Care Expert series. Boundaries are super important when it comes to forgiveness. Forgiveness is releasing the hold that person has on you. It's saying your actions won't control me anymore. It's not saying the actions didn't hurt. It's not saying they didn't happen. Right? No one is saying forgive and forget. You cannot do that. It is impossible. You can't forget it. But you can release its hold on you during those times when you do remember, through forgiveness. Forgiveness is saying that you're not going to let that person live rent-free in your brain for the rest of your life. And you're not going to re-traumatize yourself every time you think of it, with all those emotions that are associated with those memories. Okay? Through our work together, Debbie was able to forgive her parents. She didn't become best friends with them. She kept those boundaries in place. She kept her physical distance. She started to send them cards on all the appropriate Hallmark holidays, right? But it wasn't up to her solely to repair that relationship. Forgiveness isn't about repairing a relationship. Forgiveness is about you and setting yourself free. Okay? Her physical symptoms, they got better. Her ulcer improved. But more importantly, she became more confident. She learned to rediscover herself, the person, the woman that she was created to be, and not the person she thought she was or she was taught to be through her parents' actions. It was beautiful. It was really, really beautiful. Okay. And I had an interesting discussion with a woman not too long ago, and who called this type of thinking, where you teach about forgiveness and how you need to forgive, she called it a toxic forgiveness culture. And honestly, I was really confused. I was like, how can something so beautiful, how can something so healthy be toxic? And as I talked with this woman more, it was really obvious that she still held on to a lot of the bitterness and anger that she had from her past, that she was refusing to let go of. And it affected every area of her life. I mean, you could see it. It just seethed out of her. Because she didn't understand forgiveness. She called it victim blaming. Now, nowhere did I ever say it was Debbie's fault, or that she could have done anything differently or done anything to prevent it, right? Nowhere in any of that was victim blaming. Okay, that couldn't be further from the truth. It said that bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The only person hurt by your lack of forgiveness is you. It's not victim blaming. Forgiveness is empowerment. It's taking control of your life and refusing to let other people's past actions affect you in the present and in your future. Debbie didn't take responsibility for her parents' actions. It wasn't her responsibility to take. She took responsibility for her current emotions. She took responsibility for her future, and it was the most empowering thing she's ever done. You can't control someone else's words or actions, but what you can control is your response to it. So stop torturing yourself. Forgive as an act of self-care, because you deserve it. You deserve it. You don't have to confront the other person or tell them you're forgiving them. They don't have to acknowledge that they did anything wrong. Remember, this isn't about them. It's about you. When I work more closely with clients, we have an entire module dedicated to releasing the past so that you can live in the present and embrace who you are, not who you are taught to be. We dive deep into learning how to forgive and what to forgive. In the last installment of the Self-Care Expert series, we talked a lot about guilt and shame, and forgiveness is one of the most important tools that you have in your arsenal, in your toolbox, to release that guilt and shame. Okay? For now, I'm going to leave you with this advice. Forgive the people who hurt you, whether you think they deserve it or not. Forgiveness is for you, between you and God, to release your soul from the grip of the past. Forgiveness is about setting yourself free. Forgive others for what they did. Forgive yourself for the things that you did when you didn't know any better. And forgive yourself for the things you did when you did know better and you did it anyway. Okay? You deserve forgiveness. Forgiveness and bitterness, they tank your confidence. They keep you living in the past, and they keep you being defined by the actions of other people. You can't embrace who you really are, who you were created to be, when other people's actions define your thoughts and emotions and behaviors. You just can't. You deserve forgiveness as much as everyone else in your life. You were created to be free. You need forgiveness. This ties in with grace, which is the subject of our next installment of the Self-Care Expert series, so look for that coming up soon. Okay? And if you need help forgiving yourself, someone else, so that you can be your most confident, authentic self that you were created to be, then I invite you to jump on the phone with me and let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation about how I can support you in that journey. I will leave a link in the comments to my calendar so you can jump on the phone and talk with me about it. Okay? I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what questions you have about forgiveness. And tell me, is it harder to forgive other people or yourself? Let me know. I'd love to join in the conversation with you. So until next time, stay beautiful and take great care of yourself.